Good morning, everybody. Keith Engel here for TGI Sports Talks Sunday. Stream of consciousness. We got stuff blurring all over the screen this morning. How's everybody doing? Want to say good morning to everybody watching us this morning on TGI Sports Talks page on Facebook, on YouTube. Everybody watching on Let's Talk Sports YouTube channel. Great content over there. Get out there and see Tanner D, Nick Botkin, Scott Cote. I'm going to forget guys. Alan Perales. More and more. I know I'm skipping somebody. Rob Logan. Just a ton of guys, and I know I'm leaving guys out. Johnny Cruz. Just a ton of guys. Great stuff. And also Northeast Streaming Sports, where this morning you can be watching us on Facebook, YouTube, and even on the Roku app on the Roku channel, Northeast Streaming Sports own channel, which there's also tons of great content, by the way. 48, 50 hours now of new programming every week. Mac and Jack are the lead, the flagship show, if you will, and I often appear on their shows, as you know, on Friday mornings, Sunday mornings. I just got off of there now. And also thumbs up to DDH and Dave Harris. As we know, go have a great Sunday in the great beyond. Listen, I want to send out a thanks to those who said some prayers. I mentioned yesterday on our college football huddle that had a good friend that was in a serious accident, hit by a car Friday. His brother may be watching today, and I hope he is. I certainly send along my prayers still. The good news is that it appears that the injuries are not life-threatening at this point. Some serious injuries, obviously, but the news is good up to this point. I'll get some more information later on. So I appreciate anybody who, had a few good thoughts in their mind for him yesterday. Lots to talk about today, guys. Army-Navy yesterday. Typical Army-Navy game. Not a lot going on until we get to the fourth quarter, and even late in the fourth quarter, and then things just the crap hits the fan. It's just amazing how this happens. It seems like every year. But a fun game, I thought. We'll talk a little about the pregame show. Bill Belichick yesterday on game day. You saw they got this. If you didn't watch it, go back and Google it, because you get to see a side of Bill Belichick that you don't normally see. And I love that. We'll talk a little college football playoff. The Heisman last night, Jalen Daniels wins pretty handily over, surprisingly, Michael Penix with a good distance between Bo Nix. The two victories for Washington, probably the reason for that, and Marvin Harrison fourth. We'll talk a little about that. NFL, half the teams are alive. The Patriots win. Excuse me. Does it mean we have a quarterback? I do not know if that's the actual fact of the matter, but we'll talk about that. We got all the games coming up. Trying to see some of the news or things I might have written down here. McDermott under fire a little bit for some comments he made years ago, trying to fire up his team using 9/11 as a linchpin, if you will. What the hell is this? It's too funny. Sometimes I can't read my own writing. Anyway, we'll talk all of that news. MLB, we got lots to talk about. Big trades for the Yankees with the Red Sox and the Padres. Ohtani breaks the bank. What are your thoughts there? Oh, my God. I'm all for guys getting their money, but, not when it's going to hurt the team. $700 million. They did free up $160 million. $160 million in this year's salary. So we'll see how that goes. But Ohtani really breaks the bank, and we'll look at some of the other meetings, other news in baseball. A few trades there. Maybe we'll jump into college basketball a little bit and look at the rankings. We haven't done that yet. The NBA. Why are we playing in-season tournament? Does anybody care that the Lakers won this tournament? And what's up with the courts that are giving me an epileptic fit if I do turn out a game? Oh my gosh! Anyway, we'll talk about any of that. Your topics are the show's wide open for topics this morning. Let's do this. Bring me topics. I don't care what we're talking about. We'll jump in and out of subjects. This is a stream of consciousness, guys. That's what we do. And yes, thank you, Rick. UAlbany gets a great win in the quarterfinals of the FCS league. By the way, a level on football that is always going to be able to get the playoff right. They go into the semifinals now. I'm not sure who they're playing, Rick. Who are they playing? Can I? Yeah, see. We'll check it out later. Rick, maybe you have that information in front of you, but great job by UAlbany. Great year this year. Greg Cattuso's done a great job with that program overall since he's been here. Last year was a bit of a down year for the university, but they move into the semifinals of the FCS. Good football, guys. They're at a level now where there's good football being played. And you're not getting all this vitriol about, well, we won't have it next year. But to me, this is why you need more teams and teams able to play. Fat Dom can't be on the sidelines against the Cowboys. Well, I think I had, that's what I wrote down that I couldn't read. Eagle security chief, we're going to talk about. Listen, they won't, again, I don't care. We could jump. We're going to get in Army, Navy. I was going to start there, but we'll start with Dom. I'm not sure who's to blame here, whether it was the 49er that caused the problems originally, but you can't have sideline personnel. I thought he was a coach. You can't have them getting in guys' faces, man. He should be trying to de-escalate that issue, and it looked to me like he was escalating it. So can't be doing that. The courts are for your distraction, so you don't have to watch the game. Thank you, Kenny. Actually, it's probably a good point. Lakers win this tournament, by the way, if anybody cares, over the Pacers. I just don't understand the whole thing. The games are counting in the standings, and I don't think last night's did, but or maybe when they got to the semifinals. Listen, to me, it was so convoluted, I just couldn't understand the whole thing. And maybe, again, I'll get in trouble early. This might be my first graduation. Albany, okay. South Dakota, number one in the tournament. Look at these are good football teams that you're getting into now that they're playing. These are teams with guys getting drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. South Dakota State, North Dakota State, Idaho. Idaho played on the FBS level for decades. So again, I'm not sure who UAlbany's playing next week, but great job out there. Listen, I don't think Kenny's doing this either. I'm not going to besmirch their success up to now. They are playing some better teams now, and it'll get a little bit more. They do play South Dakota. Okay, good. And it's South Dakota State. No, Kenny, or am I wrong there? Let me see if I can pull this up quick. This is bugging me now. Get my coffee out of the way before I spill that. Hang on one second. I meant to have a screen up for this morning, and I slept late. Jet lag is catching up with me today, guys. I FCS playoffs. Who we got? Bracket. Here's the bracket. This might not have the scores yet. Oh, they do. Good. It's South Dakota. Sorry, I thought it was South Dakota State. It was North Dakota State did win. What is this? This year? This isn't even this year's freaking bracket. Are you kidding me? Why give me something that's freaking year old? Would you stop? Actually, I think this is this year's. Oh, yeah, because I'm in the wrong bracket. Okay. So we got North Dakota State still alive. I hope I'm looking. Yeah, there's UAlbany. 30-22 win over Idaho yesterday. The Vandals played, as I said, at Division I FBS level until just a few years ago and dropped back. So good win for UAlbany. And they will get. It is South Dakota State. Thank you. I know I'm right about these things sometimes. And North Dakota State. Those two teams, by the way, very good. North Dakota State always seems to have a sleeper in the first round of the tournament. So congratulations, UAlbany. They're going to play this game. Let's see if I can tell where they're going to play this game. I don't have a location. This game was played in Idaho last night. So congratulations to them. Who thought we'd be leading the show ever with the FCS playoffs when we got the NCAA college football playoffs ahead of us? And I guess some interesting bowl games. I want to get your guys' take. We haven't had a chance. Ken, you came in late. Rick, I know you did participate. We had a bit of a debate because I haven't had the opportunity to do it. I told you guys on this show, I told you on the College Football Huddle a week ago that Florida State would get screwed, and they did. Basketball was Rick's second love of sports after football, but is now, for the most games, unwatchable. College basketball I still like a lot more, Rick. I think we've talked about this. We'll look at least the rankings today in college basketball. We've got to start. We'll start leading into that. Not as much on this show, but as much as needed. But certainly on the College Sports Huddle, which we'll start to pivot here as we get through. We're getting through the college football season. Playoffs still to come. Some bowl games we care about, but we'll start pivoting into basketball a little bit more. NBA basketball, we've had discussion a lot. When the Knicks are good, I care about NBA basketball. When the Knicks are no good, I don't care. And regular season games are hard to watch, and you're not going to get me to watch by gimmicking. Sound like Foster Brooks. Gimmicking it up by putting in some fabricated in-season tournament. Does it really matter to anybody? Do the players care? You think the Lakers care they won the NBA trophy, whatever they're calling the damn thing? Why? Why would they care? South Dakota State lost to North Dakota. No, North Dakota State's on the other side of the bracket. North Dakota State. Oh, I see what you got. I'm looking at the bracket now. You're right. South Dakota. Hard to believe these guys have even got multiple. Thank you. Have even got multiple big time college programs in the state, right? Where are they recruiting from? Canada? Good call there. Dave Guyette, we'll get into some Yankee talk this week with some big trades for Juan Soto. Listen, I have my doubts about this trade, Dave. I'm guessing you probably love it. I probably like the Verdugo trade more than I do the Soto trade, to be honest with you, from a baseball standpoint. Soto's a great player, but I have questions about his hustle. He can't play. He doesn't play good defense. He's got a great bat, one of the best bats in the league. Some questions about other things that we already have a problem with on this team. And you got to sign him, by the way. Is this a one-year rental? Because we gave up some good players. Michael King's a very good pitcher. They were going to be, what do they call him? Lengthening him out, making him a starter most likely this year. That was the talk. Thorpe, one of the best pitching prospects in the organization. So you got to find a way to sign this guy. We're going to be all over the place. So it's okay today too. I've got all my topics I want to make sure we cover. Your guys' show. We're going to go around everywhere, back and forth. So we've covered 4 sports already this morning, I think. $500,000 to a bench player is close to their season. Well, they probably care. And by the way, Rick, that's the guys at the end of the bench, right? 10, 11, and 12, maybe even 11 and 12. Because the first 8 guys off the bench are all making, multiple millions a year. But maybe they care. I don't care. Does it generate more money for the league? I don't know. If the TV networks are paying more money for this nonsense, then more power to them. Again, I couldn't turn on a game because, well, as Kenny said, it must have been a distraction probably for me not to pay attention to the product. But I felt like I was having an epileptic fit every time I looked at a court. And I don't know if it's going to continue for the rest of the year or not, but I sure hope not. Give me some hardwood. Isn't hardwood part of what I love about basketball? The courts? Ugh. Am I just old? Am I just a dinosaur? I know we have these conversations a lot, Rick and Kenny. Get some younger guys in here. Anthony Price. I'm mad Bo Nix didn't. He did not. I think you're Missed you pulled a Keith Engel here and missed part of your word there, or the entire word. I'll tell you a funny story real quick. I'll go back to your comment. A few weeks ago, I had a message from one of the big bosses, not my boss, his boss above him, and even above him. So one of the top guys in the company, corporation. And he messaged me like 8 o'clock at night. Had a question about something. We're all on different time zones, so it's tough. But he said, "Hey, I'm sorry to bother you at night," and blah, blah, blah. And he had a question. I answered his question, and I wanted to tell him, it's certainly not a bother for you ever to reach out to me whenever you need information, Terry. And I forgot one important word. Not. So I told this huge, big honcho in our company, it's certainly a bother that you were bothering. You called me. I did correct it, and he did laugh. He does have a good sense of humor. Anyway, back to Anthony's. To give you we like to get a little personal insight into these shows. Just welcome to my life. So Anthony's mad that Bo didn't win. Listen, you can't lose twice to your main rival in your conference, and not play that well in the second time in my mind, and probably win this. But I guess all three players been in school for 5 years, but nobody talks about Penix in school for 6 years. Actually, we do talk about it here a lot, Anthony. Kenny Gifford talks a lot about 25 and 26-year-old guys competing against kids. I was surprised. I'm not surprised Daniels won. This has become a quarterback award, and the guy with the gaudiest statistics wins, which I don't think is correct. I'll tell you who the best player in college football is. It's Marvin Harrison. The thing that surprised me most about the vote was that Nick fell so far behind Penix. They were neck and neck. Now, the two losses, I think, play into that, obviously, in a huge way. We were talking on the Mac and Jack show before about, winning, players coming from winning teams that are in the hunt for national championships. Well, LSU wasn't. But that wasn't. It's not a criteria for the award. It's simply the best player in college football. And you go back years, and you'll see a lot of guys who didn't have the gaudiest stats or play in the best teams. George Rogers played on a mediocre South Carolina team. Trying to think of some other guys. Tim Brown didn't play on a great Notre Dame team. I go way back, and Pat Sullivan played on a 4-7 Auburn team. So again, I've got to go back through history, and I don't have the list in front of me, but it's not the guy with the best stats. That's what it's become. That's why it's a quarterback award, because of the way the game is played. But now we can get into the conversation that Kenny will want to get into. And by the way, I'll go back to Marvin Harrison, because Kenny will talk about Ohio State quarterbacks at some point today. Marvin Harrison is the best player in college football. That offense was not as high-powered as it's been the last 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe more years since Urban Meyer got there and Ryan Day continued. And they had a really good college quarterbacks, maybe not pro quarterbacks. By the way, the streak may be broken, Kenny, because C.J. Stroud looks pretty good early in his career. But he had McCord playing to him, who's jumped into the transfer portal, by the way, here this week. He's announced he's entered the portal. So Marvin Harrison was hampered by that. I will tell you right now that I think there'll be a lot, and I think I said this before, a lot of NFL GMs are going to be upset when they take one of these high-profile quarterbacks and pass on Marvin Harrison going forward. I said the same thing about Devonta Smith, okay? Devonta Smith didn't go before Zach Wilson, didn't go before Trey Lance. So at least didn't go before Josh Fields. I'm trying to remember where he went in this draft. If I was a Jet, I would have taken him then. Now they got Wilson the next year, so at least they replaced that. But Soto is a head case. If the fans get on him, it's over. It's possible. I talk a lot, and Jack Hirsch always poo-poos this. Playing in New York is different than playing anywhere else. They're tough in Philadelphia. They're tough in some other locales, obviously. It's not like New York. New York is like no other place, and some guys can't play here. we're going to see how thick-skinned Soto is if he gets off to a bad start. My problem is not, and again, I don't know that he's a head case, Kenny. I do know that I watched games, and the eye test tells me he's another Giancarlo Stanton with a little bit of more, at least now, a little bit more talent and still producing, because he is producing off the charts offensive numbers. But he's a liability in the outfield, and I'm not really sure how the Yankees are going to be aligning this outfield. Because Soto's a right fielder, going to have to play left field, and that's a big left field in Yankee Stadium. It's not easy. I don't know that Verdugo can play center field. I'm not playing Soto there, and I don't want the Yankees playing Aaron Judge in center field day after day. So I'm a little concerned about what the outfield alignment's going to be. I do like the Verdugo signing better trade, better than the Soto trade. I'm just not a fan. Good evening or good morning, CA. How are you today? A blessed Sunday to you. Football is upon us. DJ Sports Log Fantasy Football League playoffs. Do they start today or next week? I don't even know. I think we got one more week and then we start the playoffs. Not sure. Is that the case? Oh, let me check it out. We won't have Drew here to embarrass me with my NFL picks from last week. All right. Let me see what I can find here real quick. Are we starting to play? If they are, I'm probably out. Here we are. Bear with me 1 second. I'll get the rest of your comments. I wasn't planning on going here because I didn't think we were in the oh shoot, it's on Yahoo, right? It's on Yahoo. Keith, what are you doing? And thank you, by the way, again. I can't find it. You can let me know, CA. I just can't find the freaking thing too fast. And thank you for setting it all up. CA, we had a lot of fun. I got off to a great start. And it's the playoff start today. Actually, I think I am because I'm in the weaker division. Kenny, $700 million for pitcher and part-time. Hitter and part-time pitcher. By the way, he's a zero-time pitcher this year. Year one, he's going to make $70 million just for hitting. 10 years from now, Ohtani's going to be in his late 30s. We don't know if he'll be pitching and hitting then. Is the world nuts? You know, it's funny. And again, sometimes you have to adjust your thinking. I've always said, and I'm not really changing my basic premise. I'm not mad at Ohtani for getting $700 million. I really feel if somebody's willing to pay you the money, you're worth it. Problem is, if you're going to pay him that kind of money, you're going to hurt the rest of your team. You see it in the NFL all over the league. The league is bad because the league is not deep because we pay quarterbacks $50 and $60 million a year. Offensive lines suffer. Wide receiver cores suffer. Maybe there's some top talent, but on some teams. But when there's no depth at all, you're going to see it in baseball. Now, the Dodgers are a rich organization, but there's a luxury tax to pay, which they can afford. It's not a hard cap like the NFL, so it may not hurt as badly. And they need pitchers. This team needs pitchers. But he's not a pitcher this year. He's not even a part-time pitcher, Kenny, to your comment. True stream of consciousness today. Maybe we should do this all the time. Just go everywhere. Maybe a bit of the March tournament. Thank goodness for hockey. We'll be getting into college basketball. Certainly, we'll look at the rankings today. We'll talk. And then on Wednesday nights, we'll certainly be pivoting into more basketball. March is around the corner, man. Pulled a me. Oh, that's a me. That's a me too, Kenny. Oh, I do it. Yeah, I got to tell you, it was so funny. And he laughed. So we're still talking about my faux pas. Kenny tries to reserve his intelligent thoughts for Mac and Jack. Well, I certainly appreciate that, Kenny, because I get more entertainment than they get this way. I love you, Kenny. You're good. You're one of the best. You're an original. Kenny personally believes any quarterback should be taking in the lower rounds. Too much money for something that's 75% chance of failure. And they're going to make their money eventually, right? And ruin a team's power structure, unfortunately. You see it with every team. Well, not every team. You're seeing it now. You didn't see it with the Patriots during their 20-year run, because Tom Brady was never one of the highest paid quarterbacks because he wanted to win and the money got reallocated. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying Tom Brady gave money, didn't get his money in the long run. He did. But up front, he would always give money back so the team could be better at other positions. We don't do that now. You see Aaron Rodgers give any money back? Oh, he did offer to do it for the Jets. How good is their offensive line right now? For years, he cried in Green Bay, give me better players, but give me my money first. And as far as Kenny's comment about taking quarterbacks early, they're a crapshoot. They are an absolute crapshoot. I'm not a big fan. I'm on record as saying I'm not a big fan of a lot of these guys. For whatever reason, I see a lot of our RG3 in Caleb Williams. Bo Nix might be okay, might be Mac Jones. Michael Penix, as great a college quarterback as he is, and I'm not knocking any of these guys, great college quarterbacks, all of them. Michael Penix Jr. Spent the season throwing the ball up and letting guys go catch it. It's hard to evaluate how good they really are. Now, there are opportunities to do that at the combine. There's opportunities to do that in personal workouts. If you can't be accurate, I'll use Kaepernick as an example. I hate to bring his name up because I don't want to go there for an hour. But he was drafted high, surprisingly, because in college, what he did really translated to effective football on the field. In the pros, they had to trick up the offense, and he was not accurate enough when you had to get into what is now a traditional offense. Even the RPOs, you got to be accurate with the ball. Joe Namath completed less than 50% of his passes in his career. He's in the Hall of Fame. If you're not completing 68, 72% of your passes now, you're people think you stink. In fact, Mac Jones has completed 65% of his passes this year. And look how bad he is. The games are different. So Kenny's not wrong. Kenny's not wrong. His comments about Ohio State quarterbacks may now be interrupted a bit with C.J. Stroud's success if it continues. Played a lot better than I thought he would. Anthony, Dodgers been top and never went far. Yankees are winning it all. Dodgers did win the World Series in a 60-game season in 2020. So they've won more recently. I'm not convinced the Yankees are winning it all. And there's no bigger Yankee fan than me. This team has a lot of holes. Soto's a great hitter. He doesn't help their defensive issues. He doesn't help the base running issues. He doesn't help the fundamental lack of fundamental awareness during a ball game. He doesn't help any of that. Verdugo will help that more than he will. And you got to fill a pitching staff out. We're full of guys with question marks. Full. Except for Cole. Nestor going to be able to come back. Severino's gone. You still got Rondon. Talk about head cases, Kenny. Told everybody here on this show and everywhere I could say it, Rondon was a horrible signing. Owners never will get it. Never. And they know at the back end of these contracts, going back to Ohtani, they know they're not getting a $70 million player at the end of this. You think the Phillies think they're getting I'm trying to think what Nola got. Like $172 million over 6 years is what? That's close to $30 million a year. It's $28 million a year. You think they're getting a $28 million ball player? He's 31 years old. You think they're getting a $28 million ball player at 38 years old? No. They know that, though. And the Dodgers, the Dodgers still have a lot of holes to fill as well. So they need more than Ohtani. Now, getting Ohtani, and remember, they have freed up, so that's $70 million. They freed up $160 million in salary this coming year. They still can go get Yamamoto from Japan, who wants to play with other Japanese players. There's no better Japanese player in Major League Baseball than Ohtani. Today, Carlos and I have to. There is. So the playoffs do start today. Okay. Well, then I must have a bye. Didn't I win our division, Rick? I don't know if I was in the same division or not. I'll find the link here in a little bit. We'll talk about it. A lot of big money involved. Oh, pickleball's really gone. It's funny. We started a long while ago talking about strange sports when I came up with the tackle basketball, and I found foot golf, pillow fighting, all professional sports. Pickleball has taken off huge. This was a game that older folks, older than me and you, Kenny, were playing in Florida just to stay in, some kind of condition and have some fun. Get some exercise. And it's been taken over by the younger crowd, and they are so good. One of the big wigs in my company is a huge pickleball player. And congratulations to him. He wins a lot of tournaments, but they're really serious in this community that he lives in Georgia. So it's become, again, a serious thing around the country. And who knows, it'll probably be in the Olympics before long. There's a couple Olympic sports right now I don't understand. We have main and consolation playoffs. Am I in? Well, now you got me wanting to know if I'm in. Let me find. I need my bookmarks. Where the heck is Yahoo? There it is. All right, I'm going to find out right now. We'll give you the playoff. Maybe we won't. I think I got into an old. Now let's try this. Go here. Should populate my teams. There they are. Tweedler, TGI Sports Talk. Playoff rounds. Championship bracket. Oh, I got to play. There are no buys. Look at that. I got to play Scott Cote today. Right now, I'm favored to win. CA plays the Honey Badgers. By the way, in 3 leagues, I don't know if this league was one of them. I dropped Hunter Henry this week. I think it was a big money league, too. God. So there's our matchups for so who got the buys in the championship? The buys went to the Cowboys for life and Boss 8's nice team. Playing today in the consolation round. If you're reading this, you lost. You got to change that team name. We'll have to forget by November. 1-12. I don't know who that one is. Nick's nifty team goes 2-11. He's in the consolation round. Man, we had some. It was a tight league. Oh God. Anyway, there's our TGI Sports Talk Fantasy League. Judy Phillips, good. Merry Christmas to you and Ray and the family. Good to see you with us this morning. I was just talking, Judy, if you're still with us, about the Red Sox trading one of their better outfielders in Verdugo to the Yankees. Want to thank you for that early Christmas present. Much happier with him than I am with Soto. Not a lot of trades get made between the Yankees and the Red Sox. A lot of them have worked out good for the Yankees. I think the Babe Ruth trade worked out pretty good. Sparky Lyle trade worked out pretty good. And I can't remember a lot of other big ones besides those. So good, but Merry Christmas to you and yours, Judy, and say hey to Ray for me. Brady made his millions, but played within the system to help the overall team. Brady made money. Listen, I'm not telling you Tom Brady did not make money. He made a lot of money. Often he was not even the top 10 quarterbacks paid in the league because he would restructure his contract pretty much every year so they could go address other problems. You don't see that from Aaron Rodgers. You don't see that from the criminal in Cleveland. I think Mahomes might do some of that. Kansas City's been able to regroup. And by the way, don't write out the Chiefs. Every year you guys write out the Chiefs, and every year they're playing for the Super Bowl. So don't write out the Chiefs. But you're right. He played within the system. He played within the system that was built for him, basically. If you remember, again, getting outside of the money, the reason Tom Brady is much better than Aaron Rodgers, and I'm talking night and day better, and pretty much every other quarterback of his generation, other than maybe Peyton Manning, he took what you gave him. That's what the system was. The system was designed to get guys open. If it didn't matter if it was 5 yards, it didn't matter if it was 50. He took what you gave him and came back and played another down or series later on. He didn't try to force things. There were times he did. I'm not saying he was a perfect quarterback, but Aaron Rodgers is looking to make, headlines every play. Go back to the championship game against Tampa Bay 3 years ago when he could have walked into the end zone for a touchdown, but he looked to make the harder pass. Brady, Prudy, something in the ring or sound of the names makes them different. Well, something in the mental makeup makes them different as well. Again, Tom Brady worked himself up to being one of the great quarterbacks in the league. Look at Purdy. I still don't think Purdy's healthy. I watch him throw the ball, and I see a lot of things that look like wounded ducks going up there. But he's playing well, and he's right now. You look on the betting sites, he's the front runner for the MVP, ahead of Hurts, ahead of Mahomes. Now, he's got a ton of talent out there, and he's not nearly as good when he doesn't have that whole band of guys together. But who would be? And that's his job, is to facilitate other guys' success, really, with a quarterback. Quarterbacks are very successful, also facilitate success for other people. They make them better. Tom Brady made people above him better. You tell me a team that's won a Super Bowl with worse wideouts than, and I don't mean to disparage either one of these guys because I love them both, especially Troy Brown. Troy Brown and David Patton and David Givens got in the third. Any worse quarterback wide receiver tandem than that? Somebody that's won a Super Bowl. I'll say I'm wrong if you can give me one, but I can't. Purdy's got better weapons than Brady had for his first 3 Super Bowls, I can tell you right now. Now, that talent level rose for the second 3 Super Bowls. Padres will be better next year, CA. I mean, again, they've got plenty of offense without Soto. They're getting a pitcher wherever they use him in Michael King, who is a very, very good major league pitcher. The Yankees were planning on stretching him out and making him a starter next year. We'll see what the Padres do with him. Thorpe is a really good Major League Baseball pitching prospect. I think they make out well here. Yankees give up, I think, a ton of collateral, and they've got a 1-year rental unless they sign him. And by the way, that Ohtani signing yesterday, don't think that Soto's people were not looking at that. He's not getting $700 million. Don't get me wrong. He can't pitch. He's not ever going to pitch. Ohtani's going to pitch eventually. We've gotten into a half hour, more than a half hour of the show. We haven't even talked Army Navy yet. Anthony Price doesn't think the Yankees have won in a couple of decades. No, they haven't, Anthony. And as a Yankee fan, I gripe. They've won in a couple of decades. They won in 2009. but they have as many World Series victories since 2000 since 2000 as the Kansas City Royals. They got 3 less than the San Francisco Giants, less than the Phillies, less than a gazillion teams. It's not acceptable to be playing in this market with the resources at your disposal and won 1 World Series in 20 plus years. 1. So the answer is 1. I get into this all the time. And you know why? There's one common denominator here. Brian Cashman keep putting together dysfunctional teams. We're on our way to doing it again. There's no third baseman yet. I'm not sure about first base because of Rizzo. We don't know if he's going to come back from that concussion syndrome. Catcher's still an issue. Pitching is a huge issue. Bullpen, Holmes is not a classic closer. He needs to pitch 7th and 8th inning. We need a closer. We need 5 healthy starters, not 1, and hope for 5 days of rain. He's leaving, Anthony. The question is, he's wondering why the Ohio State quarterback is leaving, and he doesn't know why he's leaving. He's leaving because Ryan Day has made it clear to everyone, every position will be evaluated, every player will be evaluated, and nobody's guaranteed a thing. So he's not guaranteed the starting spot, and I think he wants to go somewhere where he is. I did hear Nebraska was the number 1 potential landing spot for Kyle McCord. So listen, that would be a cool, because he did not have a bad year this year. He got better as the year went on. Not a great quarterback. Didn't have the gaudy numbers CJ Stroud had, or some other guys, of course. But there's like 60 quarterbacks in the transfer portal already. Dylan Gabriel, I don't know if it's official, but Dylan Gabriel's heading. He came originally from UCF to Oklahoma. He's now going to Oregon. Not official, I don't think, yet. Tackle basketball came too late for. Well, you were playing. Actually, Rick, you might want to go back and sue somebody for this because I think you invented the game. You and Stanley. I think you and Stanley invented the game. I'm going to be switching cups of coffee, guys. I've been drinking out of my traditional TGI Sports Talk cup, but I didn't have time to get my cup ready for the second half of the show. And my wife brought me, so here we are. Christmas is upon us. Merry Christmas, everybody. I've got my first Christmas mug coffee. I have no idea why it's so cold. None. I'm going to spill this somewhere. Anyway, keep those things coming, guys. We'll get into some, maybe we'll get to some structure here in a little bit. I don't know. You played that in the 70s, and I still have a few eggs on me. All right, guys, listen, we'll jump into some other stuff. You guys keep throwing stuff at me. We've talked about a lot of stuff. Army-Navy yesterday. Great spectacle. It was in Foxborough. Well done. The one thing the NCAA still gets right is Army-Navy having his own standalone stage. And with Army moving to the AAC next year, Navy's already there, there still will be some stipulations in place where this will be the last game of the year. Unless they play, I think, in the conference championship game. I got to reread that part. I almost read it where if they played in a conference championship game, they'd still play again after that, but I don't think that would be smart. So the only time they may not have this, and they still could have it in this last weekend. It's tough because of the bowl games having to get set up to push it. I don't think Army or Navy got in a bowl game, even though they're Army is now bowl eligible at 6-6. They're better than some teams. But congratulations to Army and Jeff Moncton for winning the Commander-in-Chief trophy. They beat Air Force early in the year, so they win that trophy outright. It doesn't get split 3 ways as it would have lost. So congratulations to him. He also got a new contract extension, I think, for 5 years this year. One of my favorite coaches in college football is Jeff Moncton. He's done a great job there. They've turned that offense around greatly, made it more of a passing offense. And like that game yesterday, again, not a lot going on. Army scored an early touchdown. Nothing else was happening until late in the fourth quarter. Army pulls away after running back a fumble / takeaway from the Navy quarterback and gets to a 17-3 lead with about 4 minutes left. You think, oh, great, game's over. And by the way, I bet Army -4 yesterday. And next thing I know, they go down the field and score in about 30 seconds. Get Army to go 3 and out. And before you know it, they're down on the 1 yard line. Go for 2 in that after that, and they're down 17-9. Not sure why you go for 2 there, but I'm not the coach. The next possession, they start to take the ball right back down the field after Army got a quick 3 and out, and they got about a 5-yard punt. All day long, Army's punting. And Rick, you talk about special teams. I know. Look at these are military kids. This is not the cream of the crop when it comes to football players, but they're the ones I respect the most, and I know all of you do. Every punt Army kicked seemed to hit and bounce 20 yards backwards. Well, they got one here that I swear it wasn't a 10-yard punt. If they were fake going for it and trying to get the first down on an offsides, I think I would have gone for it. We talked about it in the Oregon game. I think it was 4th and 4, a little bit longer. I mean, if you're just going to give them the ball 10 yards ahead of you, you might as well just go for it and end the game if you get the first down, because Navy was burning their timeouts. But he doesn't go for it. He kicks it, and they get a 10-yard kick. And Navy matriculates the ball down the field. Sorry, Hank Stram. Very well, to where we got a 4th and goal from the 1 with about 5 seconds left in the game. And the Navy quarterback made a valiant effort. They tried to tush push. Nobody can do it but the Eagles. I want to talk about that too today as well. They want to outlaw the tush push, and nobody can do it but the Eagles. You ever watch a Patriots try this play? They tried again the other night. Atrocious. Nobody can do this except the Eagles. You don't banish something that everybody wants to do, but only one team can. I don't think. Anyway, we'll get into that. Anyway, they failed. After about, it seemed like 10 minutes of a review, he may have gotten in. You couldn't see where his body hit the ground. They called it no touchdown. He was well short. And it could have been they blow the whistle because of lack of forward progress. But a great game. And then actually with, 3 seconds left, 2 seconds left, Army's got the ball like at the 1 foot line. And they take a safety, which a lot of bettors, I'm sure, were very upset about, because the over-under on this game was 27.5 or 27. Probably anybody who bet this game got that around those two numbers. And they took a safety. Smart play. People say, oh, see, I told you the games are fixed. Yeah, fixed. There's only one play for Army there. Drop back. They took it. They took the snap in the shotgun. There's only one play there. Take a very slow couple steps backwards and step out of the end zone for a safety. That's the play. Very exciting game. You got the pomp and circumstance afterwards where they both go down to the end zones, the 2 corners of the end zones, and commingle a little bit, sing their alma maters. Much better to go second in this regard, but it was a lot of fun. Bill Belichick was on the pregame. He was a guest picker on game day, which, again, there's only one game to pick. So he's got the best winning percentage. The worst winning percentage this year of pickers, because he took Navy. His dad coached there for decades. Lee Corso, who's prominent member of Game Day and has been since its inception, picked Navy as he was a coach there for 3 years and coached with Bill Belichick's father. And Belichick showed you a side of him that you don't get to see during NFL press conferences and whatnot. And I've always tell people this side of Bill Belichick is there. He was very engaging yesterday. Rick and I talked about it in a chat a little bit throughout the day. He even pulled Corso's headgear gimmick and put on an old Navy helmet. It must have been 40, 50 years old, and had a little trouble getting on that fat head of his. But it was very funny and well done. And congratulations to Game Day for bringing Belichick in there and him letting that side of his personality show a little bit. I thought it was a lot of fun. So, we talked about the Heisman yesterday. I do want your guys' opinion because I know a lot of you weren't here yesterday. Anthony, I don't think you were with me yesterday. Rick was, Kenny wasn't. Some of the rest of you, the college football playoff. We've got Michigan, we got Washington, we got Texas, we got Alabama. I have big problems with FSU being out. Talked about it. I said it would happen. It happened. Now, I guess this comes down to whether you think it's the most deserving teams, which FSU is one of them. They played an undefeated schedule in a power conference and won their championship. This has never happened in the history of the 14 playoff. I know guys will go back years and say this team didn't get in undefeated. That's when we had a BCS and we had college football writer polls making the decisions. Or if you think the four best teams right now need to get in, I mean, if that's the case, maybe Arizona ought to be in. They're playing better football than anybody in the country, maybe. But that's not the case. FSU goes home. Alabama and Texas both get in. And I firmly believe the NCAA had no intention or wanted nothing to do with having to have a head-to-head comparison with Texas and Alabama. They were happy with a three-way comparison. They didn't want that head-to-head comparison with Texas and Alabama because then they got to make a decision, does Texas win over Alabama matter or not? Because Alabama's a better team right now. Alabama has the better win, or do they? I mean, Texas won over Alabama. But Alabama got better all year. So that game in September doesn't matter anymore. Why play it? Alabama's got to win over Georgia. Georgia's been playing better and better. So that would be considered a better win than, ironically, than Texas's win over Alabama. If you're not going to look at the whole season, then who cares? Why are we playing a whole season? Why don't we just pick four teams to play? And this will become moot next year when we have 12 teams. And this is a good year for it, by the way. Carlos was on yesterday saying, what a horrible year for a 12-team playoff. This would have been a great year. So any of you guys who haven't had a chance to comment on this, again, it's an atrocity. Now, I don't agree with Governor DeSantis in Florida putting $1 million aside for any legal battles that University of Florida State decides to take up against the NCAA. It's not going to happen. And stay out of it, please. Ron, we got bigger fish to fry. So just my thoughts there. Any other college football news we want to talk about? I'm going to go to the NFL here in just a little bit. Which ironically we have not talked about at all. Oh, I just went to the NFL home. I didn't want to go there. I want to go. I think there was there's some coaching news around, I guess. Maybe we'll look at that quickly. We talked about Daniels edging Penix. Harrison was fourth, by the way, in this voting. We talked about Army Navy. Great goal line stand to end the game. Constantly, these games come down to the last series. Constantly. I think I missed some comments here. Oh, I apologize, guys. I didn't see these comments. I thought we were done here. Anyway, imagine if Brady played a couple of years with Randy Moss. He did play a couple of years with Randy Moss. Actually, he played 3 years with Randy Moss, went undefeated during the regular season and lost to the Giants in the Super Bowl. Set a record for touchdown passes by a quarterback, I think, since broken by Manning. So, yeah, he played a couple of years with Randy Moss, and it worked out well for a while. Because these guys who are head cases, you talked about Soto being a head case. One thing Bill Belichick used to excel at anyway, is bringing in guys who were malcontents maybe elsewhere and getting them to buy in. Didn't always work. Worked with Randy Moss for 2 or 3 years. It worked with Corey Dillon for 2 or 3 years. Baltimore. What was I talking about? I don't even know what I was talking about to prompt that one, Rick. I didn't see the extra comments. Usually I've got a little taskbar up here that shows me when there's comments, right? 1, 2, 3, 10 comments. Well, it didn't do it, and I saw there's also now a new comment thing down here, which tells me I got new comments. So I missed you guys. CA, we're building history with Yahoo's fantasy league settings. Yes, waiver attention fell off during the middle of the season, and basically not interested. However, I've seen worse first season leagues. Listen, yeah, we had a lot of guys, I think, at the bottom of the league that really fell off. I know we were looking for a team at the end, and I think maybe some guys weren't involved. Maybe next year, CA, keep guys involved. We can make the league smaller and maybe have a small buy-in so they got a chance to win something, maybe. We'll see how that goes. I always play in my leagues right to the end. If I'm last, I'm still making moves. I am in the other 2 leagues I'm in are money leagues. One's a really big money league. It's a $250 buy-in to give you an idea. There's 12 teams, so there's a lot of money involved. And I'm got to win. I think I win, I'm in. I might need a little help, but I think if I win, I'm in. So it's very important. And the other league's small. Yeah, one job as a kicker. Come on, man. I mean, that guy was awful. Rick, am I wrong? Am I wrong that, I mean, at least every time, and again, I might have walked away for a punt or two, but every time I saw Army kick the ball, the thing bounced back 15 or 20 yards. And what a play! And what a place to really shank one there. I mean, they were kicking from about the 40, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm pretty sure Navy got the ball past the 30. We're sharing another underrated classic Sunday Fun Day football tune. What an original chord riff it is, save for the fantasy playoffs. So if you're in our fantasy league, check the message board for CA's post of a original chord riff, a Sunday Fun Day football tune. Kenny, college football playoffs don't talk about college football playoffs don't talk about playoffs. Once again, the NCAA committee showed how inept they are. Agreed, 100%. Also, the committee has no balls, 100%, because, again, that points to what I just said. They did not want to look at Alabama and Texas head-to-head because they're thinking if we say Texas is out or Alabama's out, they're going to get ripped much worse than if they put Florida State out. That's my opinion. And he says they should have stood up and said, we will go to 8 teams now. The debt is over. I'm not sure what that means, but you can't just change. You couldn't go to 8 teams. You can't just do that, Kenny. That part, I can't agree with that because you haven't played towards that all year long. They should have done it before the season. Don't get me wrong. The 12-team playoff should have come in this year, not next year. They didn't have to wait a season. And again, if you want a true playoff, do what me and Baseman Bob said and put all 10 conference winners in there and give me 6 all at larges and give everybody who won a conference a chance to win a championship. Some of the talking heads say Georgia should have gotten in. They should not have gotten in. Over who? Alabama? I'm glad that your last comment is absolutely right, Rick. And I think you made this comment last Sunday as well. You can't get in if you don't win your conference championship over a team that did. Power conference team. Now, we have seen cases where teams that didn't win their conference championship got in. Alabama and Georgia, for instance. Michigan and Ohio State, for instance. But also at the expense of other Power 5 conference champions. But those were not undefeated champions. Never has that happened. Never. Maybe a one-loss champion. I mean, if Texas, we say theoretically, Texas lost the Big 12. Okay? If Texas had lost the Big 12, now you got a decision between FSU and Georgia. Still say FSU belongs in. And if one other team had lost, maybe Washington had lost. Now you got a question with Oregon. But Oregon's in my mind. So it's very hard for me to put non-conference championships in there unless that conference has, a weak one-loss team or a two-loss team, which has happened certainly before. You guys are going great today. I love this show today. You guys are awesome. Pay attention. Won't see star quarterbacks playing anymore when the tablet tells them there's around 90% chance of victory, especially playing like Travis was. Travis Jordan talking about. Again, I first of all, don't play games like this late in the season. Alabama State or Northern Alabama, whoever they were playing. You don't need to play those games. Play them early in the season. And you're right. I mean, in hindsight, but again, these kids are playing for something. He's playing for a chance at the Heisman still at that point. But I'd rather see them sit these games out where there's a 90% chance of victory in the regular season, as you talk about, CA, than them sit out bowl games and, try to figure out who the hell I can bet because I don't know who the frick is playing. With teams with no wide receivers, that won the Super Bowl. Oh, Baltimore. Which Baltimore? Baltimore. Baltimore when they beat the Giants, I'm assuming you mean. Maybe even Baltimore when they beat the 49ers. I don't remember who those receivers were in that team, but I feel like they had some decent receivers. So, but that's a good one. Rick. Do I believe in NFL scripts? No, I do not. Have you noticed the Super Bowl logo colors are the two teams, and the winner is the top color of the logo? Anthony, I have to tell you this. I absolutely do not believe there's NFL scripts, even a little bit. Not even a little bit. If I thought that was the case, I would not watch the games. I grew out of watching professional wrestling because I grew up and realized I wanted to watch real sports. I mean, it's entertainment. This is a sporting event still. If there were scripts, it'd be the World Wrestling Federation or whatever the hell it's called today. I know this is rampant on social media today about the NFL and scripts, and I think it's a giant case of BS. Gambling runs football. That's what pushes the numbers to record heights is gambling. And if there was scripts, the gambling would be dead. I'm pretty sure you can't bet professional wrestling on DraftKings, right or wrong. There is no script. There are no scripts in the NFL. No. So based on your theory of the NFL logo, and by the way, if there were scripts, do you think they'd give you a clue to what it was? They'd be hiding it like crazy. No, there's no scripts. Now they're working themselves towards parity, and what they want is a bunch of teams involved in a playoff chase, a bunch of bad teams. mediocre teams. Maybe I shouldn't say bad. But in trying to build a bunch of mediocre teams, what you've done is made a bunch of really bad teams. I'm okay with there being super teams, right? I'm okay with somebody dominating. I'm okay with the Steelers and the Cowboys and I'm going back in time, Steelers, Cowboys, and the Vikings being great year after year after year. I'm okay with that. Get better. Don't try to find a way to mandate that teams are all 8-8. Well, we can't be 8 anymore. 9-8. And everybody's alive for the playoffs in the last week. Because what you do by trying to create a bunch of mediocre teams is create a bunch of shitty teams games that I got to watch every week. Again, this week, I got to watch a bunch of crappy football. Talk about kickers. Should have watched the Villanova game. It was funny. It's funny. That game came on right after game day, and I had it on for a while. And my wife and I watched a movie until the Army-Navy game, and I slept because I was tired. Jet lag gets me every freaking time. So anyway, you can give us a little rundown of that if you like. What would have hurt to say we need an 8-team tournament? Jesus, it took them decades to get to a tournament of 4, and then it took them decades to get to a tournament of 12. There's no way they were going to turn around in a week and say, you know what? We can't make this decision. And that would have been a cop-out, too. We've already got a system in place. I mean, you talk about them having no balls, Kenny. I mean, that would have been the ultimate case of, we just don't want to make a decision. So let's add 4 teams this year, which they can't. You got to go through a whole vote of it's not just the NCAA. The NCAA didn't say, okay, we're having a 12-team tournament starting next year. This took every one of the power conferences and Notre Dame to vote. And again, they took decades to come up with a system that they really wanted, and everybody was happy with. So they couldn't do that. I think, and to be honest with you, I think it would have shown less balls to all of a sudden say, all right, can't make a decision on these 4 teams. Let's just add 8 and we won't have any controversy. Just do the right thing. 13-0, power conference champions don't stay home. And by the way, don't change your opinion, because my opinion will not change. I'm looking forward to the Georgia-Florida State game. Now, it looks like, and Rick, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it looks to me like all of Georgia's players are pretty much playing. All of Florida State's players are pretty much playing. My opinion is not going to change based on the outcome of this game. If Georgia blows them out, I'm not going to say, see, Florida State didn't belong. That's not the point. The point is they deserve a chance to play for the championship. They didn't get it. I didn't care if they got blown out. Does not matter to me. That is not what I care about. TV networks care about blowouts. I don't. And the same thing goes if SFU wins. Don't change your opinion and tell me, oh my gosh, now they belong. I was wrong. You're wrong anyway. You're wrong whatever the outcome of this Georgia-Florida State game is. 18 playoff would have been great this year, like it would have been the last 50 years. I don't disagree. An extended playoff, and I'm still not in favor of 8. Again, I know you are, CA, and that's fine. I guess when I think about it, if I can't have the solution that I like, which is all the conference champions getting in, then 8's fine. 8 or 12 really doesn't matter to me. 8's cleaner because you don't have to have buys for the best teams. It will happen faster. But so if I can't get to 16 where I wanted to be, which was all the conference champions, 10 of them, and 6 at large, then I guess 8's fine too. I would have been fine with 8 because it really doesn't matter to me, 8 or 12. That would have been a great year for it. But again, the NCAA doesn't do things in a day. We got to get committees. We got to get all these conferences together, which is the hardest part of making these things happen. Better to get it right than be wrong. Well, I mean, getting it right isn't always making changes at the last minute, right? When the NFL, when a deserving team in the NFL doesn't get in the playoffs, I remember the Patriots being 11-5 during their run. The only year they didn't make the playoffs in 20 years. They were 11-5. You don't change the rules saying this team's really good, but they need to be in the playoffs. We got to add a team. I mean, rules have to be in place, or the process has to be in place before a season starts. You don't just change in the middle of it. I mean, the NFL did that one year when they had a strike, right? And they made it a tournament more than a playoff. But LOL, stupid question. Not a good way to start. What's more important if you was a football coach, football player, winning the NC Heisman or the NFL MVP? I don't think that's a stupid question. I think it's a great one. And it's I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer. If it was me, winning the Heisman would be more important to me. At least what the Heisman has meant historically. Okay? When the Cappellettis were winning, when the Staubachs were winning, when the best player in college football, it wasn't about the record or whether you played on a winning team or a losing team. When the Doug Flutys were winning, I think it was a prestigious award. I think it's lost something now. And I know we're going to say it's a quarterback award, but that's simply because of the way the game's played. You do get a wide receiver in there like Devontae Smith now and again, but these things are cyclical. We will see it spin back to running backs for a while. We'll see some wide receivers win, and then it'll go back to quarterbacks. Me, I'd rather win the Heisman. No guarantee I'm going to make it on the next level, that's for sure. That's a great question, Anthony, and I may refer it over to Mac and Jack to use for their debate show. I think that's a great question without a really right or wrong answer in my mind. First partner went right into the blockers. For Villanova. I don't think I saw that, but you get it can be pretty ugly. And that is, by the way, the FCS playoffs. I believe that game was in, which is where our local UAlbany team is now in the semifinals, as we mentioned at the top of the show. We are flying along here. You guys have been awesome again today. I think the longest punt was 20 yards going one way. I guess there was some wind involved then. I don't know where that game was played. This isn't the NFL. I understand that, Kenny, but again, I'm using it as an example, right? You can't just change the rules in midstream. It's again, one man's opinion, right? Doesn't mean you're wrong. I personally don't think it shows any more balls, though. I mean, if they had balls, they'd have made the right decision within the framework they had to work with. They had a framework of 4 teams. They got it wrong. And by the way, once we get to 12 teams, and even if it was 8 teams, I'm not getting into long debates, just like I don't now with the NCAA tournament, about teams that didn't get in. If you don't get in the top 12, then you don't belong playing for the championship. And at least the 12, by the way, and I guess in the 18 playoffs, CA, to your point about your preferring that one, as long as the best group of 5 teams still made the playoff in the 8, and I think that might have been one of the hangups. Well, I guess it was still good. And the version that they had, the best group of 5 would have made it, but it was going to hurt the SEC. It was going to hurt Notre Dame. It was going to hurt the Big Ten because their chances of getting multiple teams in were much less. Well, they didn't know the Pac-12 was going to implode. Eight teams might make more sense now with the implosion of the Pac-12. And I don't know what they're doing next year, right? Because right now we have 6. Top 5 power conferences top 5 power conferences get a bye. That's not the way it is. Top 6 conference champions get a bye, which means Liberty, for instance, this year would have gotten in and got not a bye, but automatic bid. Sorry, top 4 teams would have get a bye. And then you've got next year. the decision's got to be made whether I believe next year they're still leaving the Pac-12 as an entity in the NCAA. Which, I mean, does that mean it doesn't mean that Oregon State or Washington will get an automatic bid, because you might end up seeing two Group of Five champions get a shot. NFL, Kenny says NFL MVP more. Heisman makes you nothing more than a footnote. Do you think so, really? I mean, if you're a college football fan, you remember guys from years ago. I could tell you more Heisman Trophy winners than I can NFL MVPs. And it is a quarterback. It is a quarterback award for the MVP almost every year. Now, the way the game is played, even more so than the Heisman. But again, again, there's no right or wrong answer here, but I don't think it makes you a footnote. I mean, for a lot of guys, there are a lot of guys who won the Heisman and never went on to even play in the NFL, much less have success. You had guys from Army and Navy winning the award and never making it to the NFL or getting a chance to play in the NFL, but I get your point. Yesterday was the best Saturday pick to follow the wives around to 6 different shopping locales. People watching, well, I like to people watch, but I cannot go out to shopping locales unless there's a bar nearby that I can hang out while they shop. And since COVID was the best thing ever happened to me. I've not left my house to buy a Christmas gift since COVID, I'm pretty sure. Might have had to pick up something somewhere, but I don't think I have. I think I've ordered every single thing online for the last 4 years. The NFL rule changes during the games. Well, that's a good point. I mean, you put the LOL in there. It's not really changed during the course of the games, but rule interpretations certainly are left open to a lot of subjectivity during NFL games, which again sucks, man. Another reason the NFL is shooting themselves in the foot so badly. They've got the golden goose as far as interest in this game because of a lot of reasons. One, gambling. Sorry, number one reason people watch college or any football, probably, but professional football, since we're on that topic, is gambling. That's why they got in bed with them. But they're ruining the product. They're ruining the product by putting rules in that don't need to be there, and then putting rules in and letting officials interpret them themselves. You can't tackle a quarterback anymore and land on him, for instance. What a stupid rule. And left open to interpretation. It's supposed to be slamming into the ground or you know, extra excessive force to put him to the ground. Not just tackling him and landing on him. I've seen that play so many times this year, I want to throw up. And it's ruining the game. People don't want to watch flag after flag. Thursday night, flag, flag, flag. That hurts it. The injuries. The bad play. Because, again, the injuries are causing teams to be playing second and third string guys who are not up to NFL standards because we can't pay those guys. Because we pay the top guys so much money. And I know I say, if somebody's willing to pay you, see Ohtani, see Aaron Rodgers, see whoever. But at some point, it's going to hurt the rest of your team. It's going to hurt the product that you put out. And they're trying to legislate violence out of the game. It's another reason people tune in. Sorry, don't bury your head in the sand. Violence is what people tune in to watch on football. They want to see their team win, yes. But it's a violent game, and people know that, and they enjoy the big hits. And I'm not saying dirty hits, but those should be taken out of the game, right? Hits that put guys in wheelchairs like Darryl Stingley 50 years ago, 45 years ago. They should be out. But good, clean, hard-hitting football, it's getting taken away. The whole defensive receiver thing. Very subjective, by the way. Again, another subjective rule to Kenny's point. I got a message here from, bear with me one second, guys, because you remember I told you about a friend that got hit by a car Friday night. I just got a message from his brother, who I messaged Friday night when I heard about this. Had a good night. Just talked to the nurse, reduced whatever meds they're giving him. Again tomorrow, and consider taking the tube test out next step. So again, we got the best news we could have gotten. He not life-threatening, but some serious bleeding on the brain, and he's on a ventilator and stuff. But good news, he will survive. Hopefully, not a lot of lingering effects. So anybody that I put message out to yesterday that sent some good thoughts his way, I appreciate that. And I've just got a message back from his brother, who I hope to see later today, that he is improving, and great news. So anybody who struck out, thank you. Sorry, Anthony, I took your comment down. The best 4 dessert teams got in. No, I disagree. The best 4 teams, deserving teams, did not get in. Florida State didn't get in. They were deserving to play for the national championship. If you want to say the best 4 got in, but the best 4 didn't get in. No, the best 4 did get in. You see, maybe we're just looking at it backwards, Anthony, right? We may be just looking at it from different angles. To me, if you want to say the best teams right now, they probably got the best 4, but not the most deserving. Florida State was deserving of a chance to play for the national championship. End of story. Saw 3 almost wrecks and 2 parking arguments that were close to more than just talking. Where? It's random. MVP, well, look at it. I don't disagree with that. Again, I'm not putting money into the equation. And if we talked about what was, what award could help you most in life, well, MVP award, you're going to make a lot of money if you're playing at that level in the NFL. But there's not a lot of guys getting there. And not every Heisman Trophy winner, by the way, has been a star in the NFL. Archie Griffin, 2-time winner. Not a big star in the NFL. Didn't make billions of money. Pat Sullivan, Steve Spurrier, John Cappelletti. Doug Flutie went on to have a decent career, but God, who's the guy? Not him. The guy from Florida State, Chris Weinke. He won about 28 years old. Yes, NFL MVPs will make more money than Heisman Trophy winners. Because you'll make nothing for the Heisman Trophy. Well, I guess you do now with the NL one. NFL used to own Sundays, but not so much anymore. What do they? Well, they do still own Sundays, but they used to own the weekend. They don't anymore. Sundays they still own. Well, what else is there? NBA basketball, college basketball, but those things don't touch the ratings of the NFL. The NFL is still there, but they're killing the product. They used to own Sundays for me. I'll give you that much, Kenny. But, I go out and watch yearly games. Whether I watch the games when I get home or not is a crapshoot. Depends, because there's so many bad games, even in that national 4:30 window. Bad games. You can't put these many bad games out on a weekly basis. Let's look at some of those games. Where's my other mouse? Let's look at some of those games today. Oh, my God, right? Let's just look at some of today's games. I got to get to the right week on my scoreboard. I was looking at some stuff from last week. Buccaneers and Falcons. Yay. Lions and Bears. Yay. Colts and Bengals. Can't wait for that one. Jaguars and Browns. That was not a bad game, actually. Panthers and Saints. Jets and Texans. Rams and Ravens. Vikings and Raiders. Seahawks and 49ers. Should be a good game, but the Seahawks have kind of imploded. Bills and Chiefs, that should be a good game. Broncos and Chargers, should be a good game. Chargers always find a way to look shitty. The Patriots and Chargers set back offensive football about 50 years last week. Eagles and Cowboys should be a good game, but the Cowboys can't find a way to beat the Cowboys. So there's some interest in the game. And Monday night, Titans and Dolphins, Packers and Giants. Are you serious? What did I just give you? And I don't know why there's 2 Monday night games this week, both at 8:15. I have no idea. But I don't think I gave you 3 games that are must-watch today. NFL's killing itself. There's too many bad teams. When I gamble, I use NFL Red Zone. I'm with you. Anthony, if I'm home and the Patriots are not playing, which isn't often, by the way, I 1 o'clock games, I often go out. That's my brother and I had a long talk. He lives in Utah now and has lost connection with a lot of people that he knows. And I've moved away from where I grew up, not quite as far. I didn't move across the country, but I moved 40 miles, 35 miles away. So I don't see the same people I saw. I mean, there was a time I could walk into a tavern in Amsterdam or Gloversville and Johnson. I know somebody everywhere. I don't now, but I'm reconnect with my football Sunday. That's how I reconnect. I see a lot of people. There's not a Sunday goes by where we go watch football that I don't see somebody I haven't seen in 20 years. Anyway, I don't know how I got on that. But if I should be home, I watch the Red Zone unless the Patriots are on. I got the Patriots. Red Zone's one of the best. Again, if you just want to follow all the games, Red Zone is for you. Or, 12 TVs. Nothing but, well, here's the other thing now. This is the other thing, Kenny. Good point here. Nothing below the waist or above the neck. There is a rule they're looking to put in that you cannot hit them in a certain part of their midsection. Where do you hit a guy? Where do you actually hit a guy if you do that? And I get some of these rules, and hitting below the waist, there's the Brady rule, basically, when he was knocked out by Pollard, one of the dirtiest players ever to play in the NFL, by the way, on a late hit, first game of the season. He was playing for the Chiefs at the time, Pollard was. Put Brady out. That year, they went 11-5 that I talked about. It's getting ridiculous, right? That's it's not it's Todd's brother, actually. Billy. Todd is okay. I just got a message from Todd about his brother. And it did not sound good Friday night when I got the news. I got off a plane. I got a call from my best buddy Mark and telling me about this horrible thing that happened to him outside the place we go to watch football, actually. So good that he's okay. Stop being a cheapskate and get the Sunday ticket. You spend more than that at Creekside. Going to the Creekside is not about me spending money. I think I just mentioned why I go there. I go there because that is my time of the year to reconnect with people. Rick, that's why I mentioned to you, stop by and have a beer. It's got nothing to do with being. In fact, I have access to the Sunday ticket if I want it. There's years I've paid for it. In fact, if I had it, I wouldn't watch it. I would watch the Red Zone, which I have for $7 a month. And it's not about being cheap. I go out to watch the games to Creekside to and I do spend more than at Creekside. It's, a $60 or $70 day every Sunday, but I go there to reconnect with people that I don't get to see except for football Sundays. I mean, I see Mark, but I don't see these other people. I see tons of other people. And good point. And I haven't seen Tommy Herba in probably 40 years. But there's not a week that goes by that I don't see somebody. I mean, on a regular basis, I see people that I haven't seen since the previous football season because the recovery room crowd has all moved to Creekside, basically. But every week somebody comes in there. A couple weeks ago, Nancy Tarmy from Perth, came in with her husband. I thought she'd moved to Colorado, but I hadn't seen her in forever. So that's why I go, is to reconnect. And it's funny, my brother and I had this conversation, which was also about a lot of other things in the world. We solved all the world's problems that night over a bottle of Jameson, and the world's not happy, but we were. But I enjoy. I say to you, I say to Mark Robertshaw, who I see has got a laugh up here. I'm not sure why. But I say, stop out, because that's when I see people. I'm a homebody, man. Outside of football season, it's hard to get me out of my house. We go out and have a little early dinner, late lunch, whatever you want to say, on a Saturday. Or I'm here, man. I don't. So have fun. That's why I do it. Reconnect people. Certainly not about not spending money. I would spend no money. I spend more money on freaking nonsense than the ticket costs. Although it did cost a lot more this year. Anyway, what were we talking about? 10 o'clock. What other topics you guys got to get into here? What do you got? Oh, yeah, that's just Mark. And good. By the way, good morning, Mark. Jesus Christ. Good morning, Mark Robertshaw. Good to have you with us today. I hope you're doing well. You actually came up, you and GT, Guy, sorry. Kevin informed me that your brother doesn't like to be called GT. I always call him GT when I do communicate with him on Facebook. But you guys came up in our conversation the other night a lot. How much you like hanging with you guys and whatnot, and talking about people. He doesn't get to see. I see a lot of people. I don't see you as much as I used to, Mark, but I still get to see some people. I've never felt you were a cheapskate. Well, I'm not. Believe me, I should be. If I was a cheapskate, I'd be retired long ago. I'd have retired at 58 like my brother. In any event, what else is going on around the world of the NFL? Since we're talking about this, and then we'll get into some games. Maybe I'll pick the game. I'll pick these atrocious games. Oh God! Is there any news of importance? The Jaguars, after an ugly injury for Lawrence last Monday night, I was watching that game in a hotel bar, by the way, as I was away working for the week. He is expected to start today, so that's an interesting development there. Saints expect Carr to play. Refs under scrutiny for multiple non-pass interference calls, to go to Kenny's point earlier. Ridiculous nonsense. Flacco to start for the Browns, it looks like, instead of Thompson, the rookie, who was in concussion protocol last week. No projected cap yet. Eagles' big Dom bumped to the bench after the scuffle, as Rick brought up last week. Very interesting situation. I thought he was a coach. And after the game, I learned he was a chief of security for the team, and he cannot be on the sideline for the Cowboys game today. And the offensive coordinator for the Vikings, Wes Phillips, arrested Friday night, charged with a DUI. See how that affects. I'm thinking about, talking about the, Rick, I want to get your opinion on this. We see this all the time. Bailey Zappi has a really good game, actually a really good first half last week, or Thursday night. Last week he was awful, by the way, awful. But these guys have one good game, two good games, and now we're going to change all our quarterback plans because here's our guy. And how many times have we seen this not happen? Happened with Fitzpatrick all the time. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he'd look good, and we got a quarterback. We saw it with Minnesota recently, where they pick up Josh Dobbs. He has two good games, and we don't need Kirk Cousins back. We don't need to look for other quarterbacks. We got our guy right here. Well, he didn't know the plays. Worst thing he ever did was teach him the plays. The NFL jumps to conclusions so fast. Fans, yes, for sure. That's our guy. And even organizations who should know better. You have to see, we talk about crapshoots at college. At least you've got a body of work there. You got Josh Dobbs, who's traveled and been on or in camp for 7 different NFL teams. Do we think all of a sudden he's Patrick Mahomes because he has a good game? He didn't know the plays. He just went out there and winged it. And who did they play that day? I don't remember. The Saints, that big day he had, Rick. Do you think in any way, shape, or form Josh Jacobs is the future of the Vikings? Based on what you've seen so far? I don't care if he played great the last 5 games. Not enough of body work for me to say that's our guy. I saw Bailey Zappi play a good game, a good half last year, and then a mediocre game. And he played a horrible game last week and a really good game this week. Nowhere in there do I say, oh, our quarterback issues are over. People jump to conclusions faster in the NFL than any place I've ever seen. Likewise, good times it was. We had a lot of fun. I was out there, and if you didn't hear me before, Mark, I was at a trade show for a couple of days in Colorado, Loveland, Colorado. So then I went to our Utah office, and my brother lives in Utah, and he happens to live 3 doors in Woodland Hills up the mountains from my new boss. He's been my boss the last 2 years, but so I stayed with him for a few days. We had a lot of fun, and he did speak very highly of you and your brothers as well. And is it true that GT does not like GT? He wants to be called Guy, because I don't want to offend him. Listen to me say I don't want to offend somebody. That's very funny. CA, during the people watching in the park. Oh, I see. I'd rather go in a bar and watch it. I just watch a football game. Well, not a lot of football to watch yesterday, unless you like the FCS, which I like some of that. I watched some of that Villanova game that Kenny was talking about. I stayed up and started to watch the Albany State game last night, the UAlbany game, but out in Idaho, but it was just too late for me. I was dragging. So they were trailing, I think, by a little bit when I went to bed. We get to a point that leaving the homestead is not important anymore. We have everything here. I agree. I've turned into my father in this regard. Now, when I get out, I like to be out. I enjoy it. It's not that I enjoy, I love going up for my football Sundays. But part of my crew wasn't going to be able to make it today, and it looked like we weren't going. And I was looking forward to a day off. Doesn't mean I have to go. But these times are also important to me as I get older, that I get to see the friends that I have. So once I get out, I enjoy myself for the most part. But it's funny. I said when COVID hit, I told my brother this week when we were talking, I'm not saying it's the best thing that ever happened to me, don't believe, because obviously a lot of people got sick and died, and it was an awful, awful thing. But I was built for something like COVID, because I don't need to leave the house, ever. When that was happening, I didn't leave at all. Sorry, Kenny. People are fickle, and when something good happens, they think they've hit the jackpot for sure, without anything to back it up. Now, if Josh Jacobs has been somewhere and had a track record, I'd certainly say, "Oh, there's my guy." I mean, Bailey Zappi set all kinds of passing records in college at Western Kentucky, not playing the best schedule. He's small. Not so fast, my friend. I love that line. Mark, I have decided, too, that you've coined the new phrase for me, "Don't let the air out of the football," is my catchphrase from now on. So I'll give you the credit, because I realized how much I said that last week when you said that in quotations for me. But don't let the air out of football. That came up in conversation forever. We talk about all these bad acts. Every time we talk about a bad act in sports, that's my thing. Don't let the air out of football. You can kill 2 people in the NFL. You can have inappropriate sexual contact with 20 to 60 women. You pick a number from the pig in Cleveland. You get to come back and play for a record contract. Don't let the air out of football, because the NFL is going to suspend your ass. Anyway. Okay. Well, so I'm okay then. All right. I don't know where my brother got the idea that he didn't like it. But that's we might have been like a half a bottle of Jameson at that point. No way Dobbs is better than Clemens. I mean, Rick, let me take this a step further. And let's say Cousins can't come back for whatever reason. Wants to sign somewhere else. The injury doesn't heal correctly. Would you really feel comfortable moving forward with Josh Dobbs? So let me put you on the spot a little bit more. I would not be. I'd be bringing in another quarterback. And if Josh Dobbs amounts to something, great. But the fact that he's been involved in 7 different NFL teams tells me he can't play. Now, maybe he's a good backup quarterback and a good change of pace off the bench. And if that's the case, don't teach him the plays. Because as soon as he learned the playbook, his play went downhill. So anyway, I'd like to get your opinion on that. Let me look at the games today. I'll pick the games. I don't want to. By the way, Rick, how's it? And I know Drew's away. We're not going to get Drew for a couple of weeks, but he busts my ass every week for taking the Patriots because, I have a lot of respect for Drew, but he belittles me because I don't think he understands what true fandom is. I'm never picking against my team. Rick, I don't know if you ever pick against the Vikings. I'd like to know that question too. I want to know if you ever pick against the Vikings. If I'm in a pool that's worth money, I don't pick against my team. I'm never rooting against my team, ever. Never putting myself in a position to root against my team. That's why fanatics. That's what a fan is, a fanatic. Drew doesn't have a team. I don't think he gets it. So anyway, long story short, and sorry, Drew, I don't mean to be talking about your back. You and I have had this very conversation. I didn't get to pick it. First pick I haven't got in all year was a Patriot game. I didn't get in because I forgot about the time difference, blah, blah, blah. So my pick didn't get in, and the Patriots to win, and I don't have them. Got to go and get stoned. All right, well, Kenny at least got his priorities in order today. So thanks for having me, Kenny. Great job participating today, as always. Love to have you with us, with all my perf brethren and the others. Thank you for coming in. We got about 18 minutes left, guys. We have been all over the map today. So the stream of consciousness tag fits perfectly for today's game. I still want to get to, I don't even know if we're going to pick we'll look at the big games in the NFL. I just don't care about the rest. Well, maybe we'll look around the standings. Maybe we'll do that. And I want to take a quick look at the college basketball. We will have Jim Beringer in next week, probably update us on some hockey news, hopefully live. We had a problem with the tape he provided me with last week because I couldn't really access it correctly. And he was on a college football huddle yesterday show, so we couldn't get him back here today. Cousins will lead the Vikings for at least the next 2 seasons. That's quite possible. And I'm assuming the never is you would never pick in a pick'em pool. You would never pick against your Vikings. And again, I cannot convince Drew. I wish he was here today, so we could have this debate. I don't think he gets it. Especially in a league that has no money involved, no anything except bragging rights. I'm not picking against my team, ever. Anybody else out there? Mark's a true Dolphin fan. Yeah, you're a true, I think, Texans. I'm going to say Texans fan. Alan's not with us, but he's a true Cowboy fan. Would you ever pick against your team for money or not? I've lost, and I've told this story before. Super Bowl, I don't remember the number. Patriots' first Super Bowl win against the Rams, 2001. Actually, 2002 was a game. I could have won $3,000 at halftime in a big pool if the score had stayed the same. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was maybe 7-3 Patriots at the time. They had the ball with 2 minutes left. People kept telling me, why are you rooting for him to score? You're going to win $3,000. I'm like, I want to win the game. I don't care about $3,000. I'll blow that in a week, a month, whatever. And something that won't matter. I didn't know I was going to win 6 Super Bowls. It might have been the only one I could have won. I'm rooting for a touchdown, not even a field goal. They scored a touchdown and make it 14-3 at halftime. People ridicule me to this day. I don't feel ridiculed. I don't care. That $3,000 would have come and gone in no time. That Super Bowl trophy they always had. Oh. Start Tommy Kramer, Rick. You know what? Here's a guy I'm very disappointed in, by the way. I tried, and the late Dan Harris tried forever to get Tommy Kramer to come on my interview show. And there's one guy, even Chuck Foreman relented. He wanted money, and he relented. Tommy Kramer is sticking to his guns. If you ain't paying me X, I ain't coming. Dude, I got a lot of people out here who want to hear your story. It will make you money in these other things that you do. Selling your wearables, appearing in bars, because bars pay him to go watch the games there so people can hobnob with him. I lost a lot of respect for Tommy Kramer, and I liked him as a quarterback in the NFL. I couldn't get him to come on my show. So maybe if they pay him, they'll pay him. They'll pay you, Kenny, or Tommy. Go play. Underrated quarterback in the NFL, by the way. I like Tommy Kramer, I really do. But I lost a lot of respect for him. He may not be sober at this point in the morning. Oh, gosh. I would like to have interviewed him. Let's look around the NFL quickly. Not going to get the. I want to talk a little college basketball. You guys have any thoughts on the early season college football or college basketball? Get them in your head. I don't even want to get into the NFL. Miami's got a 3-game lead on Buffalo. They're playing today. Buffalo's playing for their playoff lives, but you still got a bunch of teams. The Giants don't even feel like they're eliminated yet. So the Dolphins in control in the East. Ravens continue to control the AFC North even more so now with the injuries. Nice, surprising victory out of the Bengals last week against the Jaguars. Played a great game. They're 6-6, still not out of it. Steelers, Browns, all in the playoff hunt. There's your parity, guys. Even 4-win teams aren't eliminated yet. Jacksonville, a game ahead of the Colts. Surprising Colts. Rookie head coach holding that team together with his starting quarterback. I told you this guy was a reach at number 7, and Houston 7-5. I mean, look at all these 6 and 7 win teams. Colts, Texans, Broncos, Chargers. The 5-win teams are still alive. Chiefs lose a tough one last week. Could they lose to a really not a good team, right? Green Bay. But still a good football team. Don't write off the Chiefs. I told you this the last 2 years. Don't write them off. Eagles, big game. 1-game difference with the Eagles and the Cowboys. Cowboys can't beat the Eagles. Cowboys are the largest point differential in football this year. 1-4 in a row. Eagles with a tough loss last week. Manhandled pretty much by the 49ers. They want to bounce back. Games in Dallas. This is one game I want to see this week. I do want to see the Buffalo-Miami game as well because Buffalo ripped them the last time. One of the few teams this year to handle. Giants thinking they're still alive. And when your other teams in the wild card have only got the top teams have only got 6 wins, well, outside of the Dallas Eagle loser, the best teams that are looking at the wild card only got 6 wins. And there's a bunch of them. This is what the NFL wants. Is this what you want? I want to see a real bunch of good teams and a bunch of bad teams. I'm okay with that. Half the league's good, half the league's bad. Everybody's mediocre. You got like 4 good teams. Lions with a 3-game lead over the Vikings and the Packers. Packers playing really good football. One note with the Packers is I think they've really found themselves a quarterback. Jordan Love has played great football the last month. Sorry, Rick. The Bears. Falcons, we know how bad the South was going to be. They're 6-6 leading that division, but the Saints and Bucks are right there, 5-7. And then the 49ers, of course, and the rest of that division, 6-6 and 3. So you got two good games really this week. That doesn't mean there's not games with playoff implications. I mean, games against 2 5-7 teams, those are not good football teams, by the way, have playoff implications. That's what the league wants. Is that what you want? I want to see more 10 and 12, 11, 12 win teams. Not even 10. That's not a great year, is it? 17 game schedule. Ugh. What do we got here? You need to pick up the torch from Dan and get back in the interview. I just don't have time right now, Rick. I mean, zero. My bandwidth is 0. 0. I mean, work. I have a real job, unfortunately, that I cannot leave right now. That won't be forever. I may find some time. I'm taking on more responsibility. I have to travel more. I've got 3 trips scheduled now in middle of January and early February. That's just work. That's not even my time. So, and listen, Dan did a great job picking that up for me. I did it all for myself for 2 years, and it was very difficult. It was very time consuming, and it's too much. I want to do it. I want to do the interviews. I don't have time. And then preparing is different than preparing for this show, right? I can play off you guys. I can have nothing prepared and come here and play off you guys for 2 hours, which I love. But the interviews are a different story. And I may fall into a few. I've got a couple of people actually that I've talked to recently for other reasons, and they may be willing to do it. Then I got to find time to do them, and prepare it. It's really rough right now. But I do appreciate the fact that you love those so much, and I appreciate the compliment at the end there about how I approach those interviews and how I do them. I love doing them. I love doing this. Don't get me wrong. I love this. I love everything that I've done with these shows. But we'll get back to it because I've enjoyed it. And you and a lot of other people have said the same thing to me, that they want to see the interviews as well. And I want to get to them. But again, we'll see how it goes. Gary Kuzo. There's a name from the past. Good job, Mark. He played for the Bears, didn't he? I don't know where else he played. Mark Roberts Shaw. He's only 68 still. Did he play with the Vikings as well as I know? I'm sure he played with the Bears. What do we got left? A few minutes. Anybody care about the NBA? I don't care. The Knicks are not playing well recently. Better than they have in the past. The NBA tournament's over, thank God. Nobody understands it. Nobody cares about it. College basketball, I haven't looked at this at all. Let's just look at the rankings real quickly because we haven't talked about it. And I want to see where teams are as we get started into the conference schedules. Arizona way ahead, 58 of 61 first place, 63 first place votes, ahead of Kansas and Houston. Houston playing really good again under Calvin Sampson, 8-0 start. Arizona off to an 8-0 start. Purdue, UConn coming off that national championship is 7-1 and sitting at 5. Baylor good again. Gonzaga good again. Marquette, 2 losses so far, but Shaka Smart still has his team on a pace for a possible national championship. North Carolina, we spent a lot of time, and again, early season, we got to be careful because we're playing a lot of cupcakes. North Carolina, we've ripped Hubie Brooks pretty good, or Hubie Brooks. Hubert Davis, pretty good the last couple of years, even though we got to a Final Four 2 years ago. They're number 9 at 7-1. Creighton. So the Big East is doing well. Florida Atlantic, the surprise team from last year, 7-1, ranked number 11. Texas at 6-1. Colorado State, highest ranking in their history. They're 8-0, and they're sitting at 13. That's one of the big stories. BYU, 7-0. Their best ranking since Jimmer Burdett was there. Miami, who's had a couple of good years under Jim Larangara, is at 16. Kentucky, starting to regain a little bit of their prominence, is at 6-2. Tennessee, 4-3, somehow still stay in the top 17. James Madison, we know them from the football side very well from their story the last couple of years. 8-0 at number 18. I wonder if that play, we've talked about this many times, whether a good football team will carry over and give a team a little bit more of a enhanced reputation they might deserve. Maybe that's the case in James Madison's case here. I don't know. Oklahoma 7-0, Illinois 6-1, Texas A&M under Buzz Peterson 6-2, Duke 5-3. They dropped 15 spots this last week with a couple of losses. John Shire had a very up and down first year last year, and I think they need to get it together. Wisconsin 6-2, Clemson 7-0, San Diego State again one of the last year's Cinderellas, making it to the Final Four along with Florida Atlantic, 7-1. Clemson, just a side note here with Clemson, Cliff Ellis retired as the coach of, can't remember where he just retired from, skipping my mind, but he was the leading active, or the active wins leader, if you will, among coaches in college basketball. He was one-time coach at Clemson, at Auburn, and we wish him well. I got to believe he's in his 80s. We wish him well. Teams just missing out, Tony Bennett's Virginia team, Ohio State, TCU, Northwestern, and a bunch of others. Some that have dropped out of the rankings. Villanova struggling the last couple of years since Jay Wright left, Mississippi State, and Alabama. So where is St. John's got any votes? What's St. John's record? Rick Pitino, as we know, is taking over St. John's and giving them. I got to get off of here in 3 minutes, but I'm going to take a quick look at the Big East and see where Rick Pitino is, and we'll get to your final comments, and we'll move on. Rick Pitino has got the team. They haven't played any division or conference games yet. They're 6-2 start. Rick Pitino is going to have this team battling for an NCAA spot this year. You think what you want of Rick Pitino, another guy turns programs around like that, and really good. Excellent. I'd say he's at least 80, given his late 60s stint with the Vikings. There you go. I would say he's in his 80s as well. Rick might have been talking about Tommy Kramer. Amsterdam opened a cannabis dispensary Saturday. Skip Creekside, and you can meet Kenny there. That's awesome. All right. That's too funny, right? Any of you guys want to stop by and have a drink? I'll buy, or our party will be buying. Good to have you with me today. You guys have done a tremendous job today carrying the show. As I was ready for pretty much anything, did a lot of preparation today, but tired. I am going to make it up. I'd have Wednesday back to our regular segment. We'll be back Friday with Are You Serious? And the MLB update. Lots to talk about there. We didn't get into a lot of the MLB news except the big news. And then we'll be back here on Sunday with a stream of consciousness and some guest shots in between. Thank you very much. Rick, Mark, stop out. I'll buy you a beer. Have a great day. Bye-bye.